Is 20,000 of the graph's native token called GRT good enough for me? Even though nothing I say is financial advice, arguably I would say yes, because if let's say GRT were to go to the price of $5, which is my price target for it, at that point, 20,000 GRT would hypothetically be worth at that point again, $100,000. Now, some people, first of all, they may be thinking, okay, 100 grand, what can you really do with that, man? Well, here's the way to take a look at it. First of all, for some people who say that, the way I view it is this. Many people that I know out there, or virtually everyone, but I can't say in everyone's case, but even besides that, virtually everyone I know, they're not only just holding GRT for the ones that are holding it. Like they have a very diversified portfolio or a pretty well diversified portfolio, and then GRT is one of the components of that portfolio. So if let's say in this hypothetical scenario, there's this portfolio with a bunch of projects, and let's say somewhere along there was 20,000 GRT. And let's say GRT went to the price of $5, that holding becomes $100,000. I don't think it's that bad, especially let's say it's a fully fledged bull run where a bunch of these other projects do well as well. So I don't view it as a bad thing. Not to mention, some people that I know out there with around $50,000, they were able to travel the world for around 2 years. Now, they're not living this 5-star lifestyle, eating out at fancy restaurants every day, staying at 5-star hotels all the time. They weren't doing that, but then still, with that amount, they were able to travel, meet new people, gain new experiences, see new places, and just generally speaking, have a good time. So I don't view it as a bad amount, really. Not to mention, I think 100 grand is a pretty decent down payment for a home. However, this is just my perspective. Now, again, people seem to think that, oh, yeah, you know what? GRT is never going to go to the price of $5 because it's so bad. Well, I disagree because I think the graph, even though it's kind of a simple project in the grand scheme of things, I think it's actually very amazing. And let me explain why. Because the graph, it's focused on something called information retrieval. Now, some people may find this a little bit boring, but let me explain more. The graph is an open source software that has been alleged that it is intended to basically use to collect, process, and store data from various blockchain applications. The primary goal of the graph is to help developers use relevant data to increase the efficiency of their decentralized application. Now, this is a very crucial statement in my opinion because, again, it's quite essentially helping developers, the way you take a look at it, potentially improve their decentralized application. And just think about this. If someone believes in the future of blockchain technology, if someone believes in this whole space in general, let's say, isn't it only fair to assume that there's going to be more decentralized applications that are going to pop up moving forward? I think it's fair to assume that. I think also, wouldn't it be fair to assume that there's going to be more developers as a result naturally because they want to make these decentralized applications? I would arguably say yeah as well. So if you take a look at something like that, the graph is well prepared for the future because it's catering towards these developers that want to improve their decentralized applications. And naturally, if the space does grow, we will see, hypothetically, more decentralized applications. So this is a project that plays a very crucial role. It's not obsolete. It's not the most interesting, I'll give it that. But you know what? It serves its purpose. And not to mention, it's not a project that's going to disappear when the fans and hype are gone. That's the way to take a look at it because if we take a look at it again, it's going to still have a bright future because as long as there's going to be more developers, as long as there's going to be more decentralized applications that are going to pop up, this will have a use case. Now, is everyone going to automatically resort to the graph? Probably not, who knows? But in my opinion, I think hypothetically a good amount would because it's a pretty well-established project. It's very amazing, and not to mention, it has a proven track record, so I just kind of feel like this has a bright future. But even besides that, we'll see how the graph analyzes and gathers blockchain data before storing it into various indices. Now, these indices right here are called subgraphs, and basically, this allows any application to send a query to its protocol and receive an immediate response. Now, I'll explain a little bit more about this in case someone wants to know, but really, what I said before, I think, is pretty good enough to understand what the graph is all about. But even besides that, let me explain more because queries are posed through decentralized applications through something called GraphQL. And GraphQL, by the way, is a widely used language that was originally developed by Facebook. Now people know it as Meta, of course, but yeah, even besides that point. And by the way, this was originally created supposedly to help gather data from a user's newsfeed. So yeah, even besides that, we'll take a look at, it doesn't end there because It should be noted that anyone can use subgraphs to power applications across 50 plus networks, which include Polygon, Ethereum, Moonriver, Moonbeam, Harmony, and of course many others. If I just said all the 50 plus, right, it would be a little bit boring, but even besides that, the graph is currently being utilized by popular Ethereum decentralized applications such as Aave, Curve, and even Uniswap, very big players in the DeFi space, aka decentralized finance. So I do like that. Not to mention, I think it's fair to assume that the graph with all these amazing statistics, right, with all these amazing factors, I would say, isn't it a wonderful project, at least in my opinion? So when I take a look at the graph, it's very simple and easy to understand. It's not overly complicated, and I think it's very good because some other projects out there, they have too many bells and whistles. It's very difficult to understand what they're all about, but this one feels very smooth, very, I would say, polished. Because if you take a look at the graph, more specifically, its native token called GRT, good exchange listings, good amount of holders, good awareness, good presence, I would arguably say when it comes to this space. So it all has the right pieces in place. Not to mention the graph is a very pretty, I would say, adopted project, right? Pretty well adopted project, I would say. But even besides that, it has all the right pieces in place. All it needs to wait for as of right now is a fully fledged bull run. That's it. It's just the way I view it, because other projects out there, they don't have all the right pieces. Doesn't mean they won't do good, but they just don't feel polished. Sometimes the community, we don't really know if it's that passionate about the project. Sometimes also we take a look at the exchange listings are very bad when it comes to their native token. Not to mention, we take a look at how we don't really know the direction in which the project is heading. They say they're going to do this, do that, but then they never do anything. And then also, we don't even know what they're really doing in some cases. So again, when I take a look at the graph, we know where it's heading, right? We know what it's trying to do. We know the exchange listings are good when it comes to GRT. We know that there is a pretty decent fan base when it comes to this. So it's a no-brainer for me. All I have to do right now is just stay patient, because usually altcoins, as a worst case scenario, they typically peak around 18 months after a Bitcoin halving event. The last Bitcoin halving event happened in April of last year, so 18 months from then would actually mean around October this year. There's still plenty of time. Now, is this a guarantee? No, it's just, after all, based off history. But the way to take a look at it is that that's the only thing I can take a look at, because I can't take a look into the future. I can only take a look into the past. And in the past, that's pretty much been the case. Now, again, that's no guarantee, but you know what? I'm still going to be acquiring, because I don't think the bull run's over yet. I mean, with over 600 million crypto owners, according to Crypto.com research, which is more than ever before in history. Take a look at the Bitcoin ETF, the Ethereum ETF, the number of institutional investors, the amount of enterprise adoption, and also some hype regarding as to what the Solana ETF in Canada could bring for this space in the long term. I think there's a lot of bullish factors here. And I think with all those bullish factors, I don't think the bull run is over, hypothetically, just yet. There's going to be the end to the bull run. I'm totally aware of that. Historically, every single bull run we saw, prices drop very hard, right? Bear market, we see Bitcoin drop many times in price, but I'm just saying, I just don't think it's over yet. However, only time will tell. But again, if we take a look at GRT at the price of $5, considering current circulating supply, market cap would be around $50 billion. Well, it's actually around $49 billion, but let's just round it up to around 50. But even besides that, that's around a 50x from here. I don't think this is too much to ask for. We've seen Dogecoin reach over $80 billion in market cap, Shiba Inu reach around $40 billion. And that was years ago, back in 2021. Factors were not as bullish as they were as of right now, in my opinion. So I don't think this is too much to ask for. And when people ask me, hey, is 20,000 GRT good enough? I can't speak on anyone's behalf. Each case is going to be different. But for me, I don't view it as a bad thing. And make sure to subscribe if you gain value from this video. I'd greatly appreciate it. It's been Lee the Captain, and I'll catch y'all on the next one. I'm out. Peace. Bye.